Hi, I'm Dana, this is Otis, and today I wanted to start a new series because I've watched quite a lot of questionable media. I quite enjoy things that are so bad they're good and are generally just kind of bad. Like, I love them, but I also know they're not necessarily good, you know? I love them. But it also means that I quite often watch things and at some point while watching it have the thought, what the fuck? Why are they doing that? Did no one think about this? Did no one else thought about this the way that I am right now, clearly. And I'm confused. And I was initially going to do it as like a part of the info dump, but I feel like it needs a different series. It needs its whole series because it's just lots of little moments from different things where I'm like, I want to talk about that and I don't have the place to talk about it, so I'm creating it here. So for this first episode, we're going to go in on Torchwood first and then we're going to touch on Stuart Little. It's probably going to be like 2 or 3, maybe more things per episode. It feels silly to call a YouTube video an episode, but that's what we're going with. So it'll be a couple of subjects each episode, and yeah, I want to get into it now. So we're starting off with Torchwood, because that was one of my biggest special interests as a teenager. I adored Torchwood for like 4 or 5 years. And when you also consider that I only liked the first 2 seasons, I watched it a lot. And there were many things that I questioned about it. And the thing that inspired this whole series, so the thing that we should talk about first, is Lisa the Cyberwoman. She's been a discussion amongst Torchwood fans for years, so I'm not going to give you like the feminist rundown of everything that's wrong with her in that regard. What I am going to do is give you the full rundown in a Doctor Who fan regard, because it pisses me off and I've never seen anyone else say this, okay? So, this is what Lisa looks like for anyone that doesn't know. It's Yanto's Cyberwoman girlfriend. It's a whole thing. He rescued her at Canary Wharf when like the Cybermen and the Daleks were having a whole thing. It was a whole thing. And he rescued her. And she's different to the other Cybermen that are just, you know, Cybermen that look like this. She's different because they were running out of time and they needed to like hurry up the process. Tell me fucking where it is more efficient to go, no lads, we can't just plop their brains out and plop them into a robot. That's not fast enough. The thing that's going to really up our efficiency here and make it go so much faster and really help us win this battle against the Daleks, the thing that's going to, you know, make us successes, is to start building the Cyberman suit around the person, including nice little metal Cyberwoman underwear for the ladies, of course, a little bra. Gotta make sure those titties be looking perky. We'll build it around and then all the other bits can like snap on later on, you know? Like, we can just snap them. That's not fucking faster, it's not efficient. Why? You know, that's how they explain to us that she looks fucking silly. It's not a good enough explanation, okay? It's not. You could have told me that Yanto was like trying to take parts off her to make her not be a Cyberman anymore, and he's like, bless him, he's a little sweetie, isn't he? So he wanted to cover her modesty and wanted to like keep it in style because he's also gay. Like, you could have told me that Yanto did it and I'd have been like, okay. You know, I'd have just accepted that along with the fucking pterodactyl that they have in the time that Owen was dead but not. I'd have just been like, yeah, fair. But the way that they explained it to me was not good enough. And the other thing that I recently saw board up was the transphobic part of that Torchwood episode. And a lot of the times when people tell me like an episode of something I watched and like really enjoyed was like transphobic or homophobic or misogynistic or the many other shitty things that things were in like 2008, you know? Normally when people tell me, I have to take a minute and be like, which episode? Oh God, yeah, that was bad. With Torchwood, when I saw that mentioned, my brain immediately, like, flick of a switch, without hesitation, just went, and when he came back, we had to start calling him Vanessa. Okay. And it's another one where you can unpack all of, like, the transphobic bullshit that's in that, because it's misgendering someone, it's not accepting someone's transition, it's a whole thing. But again, just from like a Doctor Who fan don't give a shit perspective, I do give a shit, but from the perspective of someone that doesn't, was that the best take? Did John Barrowman refuse to deliver that line in any other way? Because, you know, it's a bad line anyway, it's poorly written, but the delivery, I'll put it in here for you, because you need to see it.
My guess is you're not from around these parts. Now,
that was what they decided to use in the show. Why? Like, it's not well delivered. And I've spent many a year being like, look, I know John Barrowman's like kind of dodgy. I don't support him as an actor, as a person. But as a bitch that grew up on Doctor Who, like from 8 years old, as someone who the first musician I ever saw live was John Barrowman, I can't get over Captain Jack. I can't stop loving Captain Jack. I'd kind of like to, but I can't. And I've for years been like, it's because he's such a good actor that Captain Jack's like so real. I've been lying to myself. I've been really lying to myself. So many of the like dialogue, so much of the dialogue that he has is just poorly delivered. He's not good. I'm sorry. I wish he was. But that line especially, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck was that? Now, next up, my very, very favourite episode is Countryside. I love a good bit of cannibalism. It creeps me out like nothing else. It fascinates me. I love it. I've got other videos where we've discussed this exact topic, okay? I love a good bit of cannibalism. However, the thing that has always pissed me off about my very favourite episode of what at one point was definitely my favourite show, they make it impossible to believe that it was humans the whole time. The speed at which some of them move, some of the weird little shadow things that they do, that's not a person. It's just clearly not. You know, as much as I can try and suspend my disbelief and whatever, that's just not a human being doing these things. It's just not. And yet at the end, the whole big reveal is that it was just people the whole time, just human beings being human beings, guys. But like, you've shown me that it wasn't fucking people. What the fuck was that? And very quick honourable mention is the whole episode when Gwen gets married. What the fuck was that? What was that? For those who haven't watched the show, I don't know why you've made it this far into the video, but thank you. Gwen wakes up on her wedding day, heavily pregnant. Everyone just goes along with it. Loads of other shit goes down. It's kind of just... I loved it at the time because it's just chaotic. But looking back on it now, I'm just like, what was that? So, Stuart Little, the other half of this video, and hopefully the shorter half, I didn't mean to ramble on like that. There's so much that I don't understand about Stuart Little, so we'll just start at the very beginning. They're annoyed at their human son, their living human child, because they promised this kid, you're getting a sibling. I don't remember if they specifically promised him a brother, but I feel like they did. I feel like they specifically told this little boy, you're gonna get a brother to grow up with, isn't that fab, kid? And he was like, yeah, that is fab. And then they brought home a fucking mouse. A mouse. They brought home a mouse and were like, this is your brother. And they were genuinely annoyed at that kid for being like, that's not my brother, that's a mouse. They were genuinely annoyed at him for pointing out you've brought home a fucking mouse. Like, I don't know about anyone else, but I think that's a pretty valid thing to be upset about, you know? I don't understand why Mr. and Mrs. Little were so chill about the fact that they'd just taken a fucking mouse home as a son. But I understand that that's the plot of the movie. And again, I'm willing to suspend my disbelief and just take some shit. But being annoyed at that little boy for wanting a brother and not being happy with the mouse that you've brought home is just rude. It's just cruel. That is childhood trauma right there. Not to mention, like, the logistics of it. Because obviously he can talk, so he's not like a normal mouse. But I highly doubt he's going to grow old with the rest of the family, you know? Like, he's probably still got a mouse lifespan. But mentioning that he can talk brings us to my next point. Because if he can talk, why can he talk to the cats and to people, but the cats can only talk to other animals? And by extension, the thing that's always really pissed me off is he talks to Snowball the cat. And he knows that Snowball's, like, main issue is, like, you're a fucking mouse that has just swanned in here and gotten a whole ass bedroom to yourself. You've got a whole ass single fucking child human-sized bed just for your little tiny ass mouse fucking body. What the shit? You know, this cat is fully valid in his hatred of Stuart Little. He's living like on like fucking scraps in the kitchen with a little fucking shitty bed. Meanwhile, Mouse swans in and gets everything he's ever fucking wanted. So, were I Stuart Little, I would immediately be like, oh my god, how they've been treating other animals in the house like this? What the fuck? That's not okay. And I, as a little tiny mouse person, would go to Mr. and Mrs. Little and be like, guys, I get it. You can't talk to the cat. Like, you can, but you can't understand what he's saying. I get it. But I can, and I've just had a chat with the cat. And you keep getting really annoyed at him for like trying to murder me, but he's not actually coming after me because I'm a mouse and he's a cat, and you decided to get a mouse son knowing full well you have a cat at home as though they're not a natural predator to mice. Ignoring all of that, you know, I get it. I've had a chat with the cat and he's actually only pissed off because he's living like a neglected fucking animal while I'm living like a king. And, you know, I just think, like, you're obviously very rich people, and adopting a mouse has not cost as much as adopting a child would. You haven't had to, like, buy me a wardrobe and, like, child-sized toys, you know, on the mouse. You've obviously saved some money and cut some corners here. Can we not get the cat a bed? Like, we can get bunk beds. He's a mouse. He's a cat. He can climb up to the top. I'm a mouse. I could scurry off. Like, we can get bunk beds. You know, we could realistically share the bed. It's a whole big bed, and I'm just a mouse in this scenario. But do you get me? You know what I mean? Like, all that needs to happen is Stuart needs to be like, oh, chill out, Snowball. I'll have a word. You know, and same for that other little grey cat that Snowball's friends with, that little street cat that doesn't have a home. Stuart could very easily be like, hey, that stray cat you keep chasing off, like, he don't have a home and he's pals with Snowball, just let him move in. You know, like, I don't want to be mean to a mouse child, but I just think Stuart Little was really quite selfish. And, you know, not a problem solver. Kid needs to learn some fucking logistical solution skills. Like, how did Stuart even end up in, like, social services, like, adoption system? Who the fuck checked in a mouse? Because there's only other kids there, you know? It's not like it's common for these talking animal families to, like, have kids. We don't see, like, loads of other ones, do we? Like, we meet his parents at one point. They turn out to not be his pet. I don't remember the plot of Stuart Little all that well, okay? Because I spent the entire time being like, what are the logistics of this universe? Where are the other talking children, like talking animal children? Because surely if he ended up in the adoption system, there should be others. So why don't they just like have a home that's for talking animals, and then other animals could take them in instead of giving them to humans? Because like imagine if Stuart were like had a nightmare and went into his parents' room in the middle of the night and spooked them, and they like slammed a book on him. You know, he's dead. You've just murdered your kid. If that happened, would they go down for manslaughter? Or would it just be like, well, you killed a mouse in your house, it's fine? You know, would it count as a murder because they've adopted him? Like, he's in the system. He counts as, like he'll have an identity. He'll have, like, a number or whatever, you know? So if you killed Stuart Little, would it actually be murder? Or have you just killed a mouse? Like, I just have a lot of questions about the universe and the way it all works. I'm not saying that I wanted to see... I am absolutely saying that I wanted to see Hugh Laurie splatter a fucking mouse and then have to, like, go to court to defend himself because it's just a mouse, while his wife's like, he was our child. Stuart Little 3, 4? Someone bring that one out. But for today's video, that's all I've got. I would love to hear if you agree with me on any of these, if there's any movies, TV shows, etc. that you've been like this with. I upload videos twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays at 4:30 PM UK time. All of my links to like Instagram and TikTok, and also my Ko-fi where you can donate me a coffee should you so choose to, they'll all be down there in the little bottom bar bit. Used to be a sidebar when I was a kid, fuck knows. So it's down there anyway. And yeah, whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year. And I'll see you in a couple of days. It's not very often that Otis sits on my lap. He's more of like a sit next to me kind of cat. So I don't normally have this issue with him like I do with Ali, but now I'm gonna have to move him like a terrible person. Come on, baby man.